Factually inaccurate. Morally correct. This is Babylon Bee Radio. Our top story. Trade representatives in the United Kingdom were surprised to learn that the offer made by the United States to trade President Joe Biden for Queen Elizabeth II still stands, even after the Queen's death at the age of 96.
We just assumed that the offer was only valid as long as Her Majesty was still living,
said Sir David Cathart, the recently appointed Minister of Human Trades for the British government.
The offer was initially taken into consideration quite seriously due to Mr. Biden being significantly younger than the Queen. But after doing our research, it became evident that his mental capabilities had degraded to a rather absurd level.
There's got to be an even more tempting trade to make now, right?
Asked Dr. Nate Thomas, a high-ranking member of the U.S. People Swapping Bureau.
I mean, come on, he's still alive, so that has to count for something. I'm not saying you can trust him to make any decisions or provide strong leadership of any kind, but he's still got a pulse. That's a good deal, right? Right? Come on, just take him, please.
The U.S. government was reportedly prepared to sweeten the deal by including Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and actor Alec Baldwin in the trade. But this seemed to only scare off the British even more.
I'm afraid not. Given the choice between a living Joe Biden and a deceased Queen Elizabeth, we will stick with what we have and be better off.
In his first official royal decree, King Charles has replaced Meghan and Harry in the line of succession with two of the late Queen's Corgis.
Fluffy hair shall immediately assume the title of Duke,
said Charles, presenting the Corgi with a scepter.
Then now, who's a good future King of England?
Upon hearing the news, there was much rejoicing.
After the sadness of this past week, it was good to have something to be happy about,
said English citizen Gerald Funderburk.
I thought of the monarchy falling into the hands of Harry and Meghan, those blithering idiots. We can all rest a bit easier tonight knowing the kingdom will be in good hands. Or pause.
At airtime, Meghan Markle had responded with her daily tradition of calling everyone in her family racist. Former President Barack Obama has released a 678-page memoir about getting his portrait done, entitled A Portrait of a Portrait.
Me. Goodness gracious, I sure love me. Now, would you look at me? That's amazing. Hey, any of you worthless peasants want to listen to me read words from me about me having someone paint me?
In the first several chapters of the memoir, Obama explains why he chose a completely empty background for his portrait.
After hours of thinking, it finally dawned on me that everything is dumb, except for me. So why should anyone waste paint on anything other than me? Not to mention, the white background makes it completely different from every other presidential portrait. So everyone will ignore those other schmucks and just look at me.
The new memoir comes just 3 months after Obama's last memoir about how much he likes toast. The CEO of Penguin Random House has admitted the company isn't even publishing half of the memoirs Obama writes. Obama has already announced plans to release a new memoir next month, which will be about the time he wrote a memoir about the time he got his portrait done. In an effort to escape the wrath of a weaponized federal government, supporters of former President Donald Trump are placing Biden signs in their yards with the hope that it will cause the FBI to pass over their houses. Fears have grown strong among conservatives as they've watched the Biden administration unleash a series of devastating plagues on the United States, including crushing inflation, oppressive gas prices, high unemployment, and rising taxes. It only stands to reason, some say, that new waves of FBI raids are imminent. Doubting the effectiveness of fake yard signs, local housewife Shauna Coleman worked diligently all afternoon, cleaning every baseboard in the house, intent that her home would look tidy if the FBI dropped in for a raid.
I would be so humiliated if special agents searched my home and found it full of dust. And what if they published pictures of my floors in the Washington Post? I better run the vacuum again.
Having once attended a school board meeting, Mrs. Coleman figures a raid on her home is only a matter of time.
I've started setting out cookies at night as well. I'm sure they'll be hungry after all their raiding. It started with liking this Facebook post about how schools needed to reopen during the COVID lockdowns. I wound up going to a school board meeting, and next thing you know, there are 3 unmarked vans on my street, and every guy on the block is wearing a Lacoste shirt and Ray-Bans. So I'm trying to get the house all fixed up before they come in.
Despite his protests, Mr. Coleman has again been roped into helping clean the baseboards.
Why the baseboards? Every dang time someone comes over. At least this time there's a chance that some people coming over will be looking in the upstairs closet. As soon as this raid is over, I'm designing walls and floors that don't have baseboards. What woman started this neurotic obsession with baseboards? Some mother-in-law looking to annoy a happy couple, no doubt.
At airtime, the FBI agents reported that the cookies were delicious and repeatedly expressed to Mrs. Coleman that it was the nicest home they'd ever ransacked. Over the weekend, local man Connor Serverprof was excited when an acquaintance at a cookout asked him what it's like working as an accountant. Mistaking the inquiry for a genuine interest in the finer details of accounting, he began to regale the unfortunate man, failing to perceive his panic as he realized his polite question was being taken seriously.
It's a common misconception that all accounting is tax accounting,
Said Connor, puffing out his chest as he began explaining the importance of accuracy in assessing profit and loss statements for business accounting. Sources confirmed that he failed to notice the man's eyes glaze over as he scoffed out.
And don't even get me started about people who don't know the difference between bookkeepers and accountants.
Eyewitnesses say the man's panic became more visible as Mr. Serverprof elaborated on the differences between project accountants, forensic accountants, management accountants, and investment accountants. Sources say he glanced around with increasing urgency, trying to catch the eye of a third person to loop into the conversation for either a handoff or a subject change, but was not rescued from the hostage situation as the other partygoers were fearful of being captured as well. By the time Mr. Serverprof realized that the question was just a probe to find a more interesting conversation topic, eyewitnesses say the man's eyes had rolled back in his skull and he began frothing at the mouth, just as the controllership, internal audit, and managerial accountant summary had moved into its second overtime. Local man Matthew King showed up to a local disc golf course not even remotely stoned, like a total amateur.
Matthew is moving way fast on his legs.
Said disc golf aficionado Steve Porter.
I don't think he knows all the unwritten rules yet. Hey Matt, are you cool to drive?
Mr. King had always enjoyed tossing a frisbee, but had never quite understood the draw of disc golf.
Some of my buddies at work were raving about it, so I got a couple of discs and went to a course to try it out. I don't know what kind of fertilizer they used, but the course had a really unique smell. All the other disc golfers were super friendly. Very chill atmosphere.
You can always pick out the doobies. Did I say doobies? You can always pick out the newbies. They don't carry folding chairs for smoke breaks, and they actually keep track of their strokes. Plus, he was drinking water. Total bush league.
At airtime, Mr. King had decided to try rock climbing and found it very odd that he once again smelled that same fertilizer near the bouldering wall. Now you're up to date on the only news that matters. Find more fake news you can trust at BabylonBee.com. Until next time, this is Austin Robertson, the voice of the Babylon Bee. So long.